Oh man, I have something I've been waiting for far too long. It's been chasing me around the world for the past several months, actually. So it went all over the place, and it's from Route Werks. You've seen me reviewing the bag. This is more of their stuff. Once again, kind of add-ons with what they have. And it's gonna give my Route Werks system, not that I really want to call it that, more flexibility. I kind of wish the stuff would kind of come with this, or they have a, maybe they do have a package. Haven't really checked. But this is from my wife's bike. This is the, what do I want to call this? This is the quad lock mount for the top case of their bag. So that's one thing I got. Put that right there for right now. Guess got some more GoPro mounts. Not GoPro mounts, Garmin mounts, Barfly Garmin mounts. This is a GoPro mount for what I'm gonna show you in the next item here. And yeah, this is gonna be a nice little addition to what I have going on. And it is this. So this is the computer mount adapter for their mount that stays on your handlebar. So when you don't wanna run the bag, you want to run, but you still want to run your computer or other accessories, either a GoPro or a Garmin or whatever navigation, or even your phone. You can put a quad lock mount on here as well. You can use this. That just goes right onto the existing mount. It's kind of big and bulky, but it's better than having to take off that mount on and off 1,000 times, you know, trying to adjust things around. Yeah, so it's definitely the world's, like they called it, the world's biggest out in front mount, or heaviest out in front mount. So let me grab the mount itself. So if you haven't seen my other video, you see this part, this is the base. This goes onto the handlebars. And this item right here is what you mount the bag to. The bag goes on right about here, sits off the front onto your bike. But when you take it off, you have nowhere to put the computer, and most of the out in front mounts would interfere with this mount. So what they did is they came up with this that will mount onto that. So you open up the mount down here, then you put that on, and you tighten it down just like you would their bag. And bam, you're done. It sits up a little high. If your computer sits low, this is probably not a great option, but you know, this is a much better option than not running the mount. So let's put it on. So like here on my gravel bike, most of the time I probably won't use the Route Werks bag, but sometimes I want to take it on a longer ride, or if I'm going to commute on this, sometimes it'd be nice to be able to throw the bag on here quickly, but also be able to take off the computer mount quickly right here. So for now, let's just take this off and put on the Route Werks mount again. So because now that I have the computer mount, this is actually a more viable option. Take off the existing computer out in front mount, which you can see right now actually has a light mount on it, which I'm actually going to transfer over to the Route Werks mount. That's the reason I got the GoPro adapter for it, because it allows me to run my light and my computer. So like I showed you before, here's the Route Werks mount. And we're just gonna put it on just like we would on any other bike. It would be nice if they made a second edition of the mount that had the hinges like on the K-Edge computer mount. It just makes life a lot easier putting it on and off. But you know what? It's not like something you're gonna be taking on and off all the time, so I'm not gonna ding them on that in reality. It would just be a nice to have versus any real thing I'd actually take points off for in the system. So one thing you do want to make sure is make sure the gaps are pretty similar all the way around on the front and on the back when you're tightening these down, these 4 screws. Now, one thing I have noticed, once again to give them credit for something, this mount holds extremely well on the handlebar. I've had my bag to be reasonably heavy, and I've ridden it on reasonably bumpy trails. Yes, trails, not just road. I've hit some potholes and I've done other things with it. And this mount's never budged, which is pretty impressive. I would have expected it to slip because I haven't actually ever really tightened it down like crazy tight. So that's pretty good. Just something to note if you're ever installing one of these yourself. You don't actually have to make this super tight. And here's the out in front adapter. That's just gonna go right here. As you can see, it sits higher than my other one. So the computer's actually gonna sit up here, and this is where my top of the computer was with the K-Edge. You know, it does actually make it easier to see because it's a little higher up, but it's not as aero. But once again, you're not gonna be using a Route Werks bag and a Route Werks mount if you're worried about the all-out aero advantage. What I do like though is that this is a solid mount. I mean, this thing is super robust. This is more robust than any other computer mount you'll ever have, which is nice if you're gonna run a GoPro or a light or something else down here that could be even more substantial. I would totally trust this to hold all that weight. Put on the GoPro adapter, or not GoPro, Garmin adapter. Once again, they just have the bolts already threaded in, which is nice. So you can't lose them in packaging. They're not gonna fall out, route around a box or get lost in that sort of way. Barfly makes their mounts, or actually they just use standard Barfly mounts, which is kind of nice because that means they're nice and available. They're not reinventing the wheel, and they should forever be readily available. Make sure you're getting it tightened down. One thing I actually do like about the Barfly mounts versus other mounts is that these are actually pretty robust. They use a bigger screw. It has an inset, so it actually is going to apply pressure better to the bottom plate down here. Overall, it's actually a little nicer than the KH, although the KH mounts, which I'll show you in the future, I think are actually really nice in one feature is that they actually break easily. And that's actually a nice feature and not a bad feature. We'll talk about that in a later video. If when I make it, I'll link it up here. So for now, we'll put our computer back on, put the leash around the handlebar. Oh, interesting, that's right, I forgot about Barfly mounts. So the one thing I don't like about Barfly mounts is that they only turn in one direction, meaning you gotta have your computer in a certain orientation for it to go in. It won't rotate through past that point out the other side. That's actually one thing I like about the K-edge mounts. This is a K-edge mount right here. Take this back out. So you can rotate this in one way, then out the other. I prefer that for mountain biking. If you wreck, it is more likely to save the computer because it can actually just twist out of the mount and the mount will still be saved. The reason that's important is that these computer tabs on all the computers I've seen are plastic and vulnerable to actually being damaged in a wreck. So having something that can turn all the way through is actually a genuine advantage. And you run the leash to stop it from actually falling off and going off into the weeds. So that's it on. So this is the Garmin mount again, like I just showed you earlier. What they did here was they give you the plastic piece on the front and the two screws are in the middle here. So you just break it open. They use a twist tie to keep it on there, which is nice because it'll be reusable. I know they actually try to be conscious about how they do their packaging. Notice there's no colors on this, so it's just fully recyclable paper. It's something Route Werks does that, while I appreciate, I wouldn't say it's too much of a selling point to me. It does make it a little bit nicer for environmental conservation standpoint, but I wouldn't read much into it. So they give you a nice long screw for the Garmin mount itself, for the GoPro through bolt, which is nice because you do actually want to use a screw on these, not use one of the thumb screws, because there's gonna be a lot of vibration. This will allow you to get it tighter and smaller, more compact, better overall in that aspect. So once again, you get the same sort of screws that go into the bottom that actually just hold it up from the bottom. So how they conquered which way to orient it is it has a full plus sign here that allows you to orient it in any way you want versus being stuck in one orientation or the other based on what computer mount you have, because these bolts do go through all the way through the metal here. So for mine, I just need to do the side to side. I'm gonna run this mount going forward because, like I said, I run a light here. If you're running a GoPro, you might run it the other way around to keep it a little more tucked in. So it's preference on what you're doing will dictate which way you can run this. It is nice because you can run it backwards and have it sit very close up against this, which might be very useful for mounting a GoPro. So you get my old mount, you get that mount, the light mount part off of here. Oh, interesting, it's actually a little bit looser fitting in this mount versus the K-edge, which is actually a good thing because the K-edge one, this plastic piece is super tight in it. So I'll actually put Advantage Route Werks mount on that. I mean, once again, not really a selling point, but a nicety. Nice thing about the under the bar mount or the Garmin mount, or GoPro, whatever you want to call it, or GoPro underneath, is that if you get accessories that can mount to GoPros, like this Lumina light with this piece I'll talk about in the future, you can slide it on there, and you're good to go. And that's just stays dead center with the bike, holds it here, it's all out of the way, nice little package. say I want to put my Route Werks bag on, all I do is just take off my computer, slap this off, takes 2 seconds, go grab the bag off the other bike, slap it on here. Once again, see, I already got a light mount on here too. Throw the Garmin back on. Done. I switched from the Garmin mount dedicated to the full bag mount. Just as simple as that, just as fast as that. That's actually a nice thing about this mount, is that it affords you the speed for something that you might switch out quite a bit. So, good to go, Route Werks. If you like this video, please subscribe and like it, and leave suggestions or comments on things you want to hear about in the future. I'll try to get to them. Until then, just ride.